Welcome to the Squared Circle Pit with your host, Rob Pasbani.
Now entering the Squared Circle Pit, he is the World Heavyweight Champion of World Wrestling Entertainment, and he is a metalhead. I'm so excited to welcome back to the Squared Circle Pit, Damian Priest. Welcome, Damian. Thank you so much.
What's happening, dog?
I'm very excited. You had a busy few weeks. Of course, you can catch Damien every Monday night on Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. And I have a good feeling that you will be performing at the King and Queen of the Ring on May 25th in Saudi Arabia, the next premium live event on Peacock.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting event. I've always enjoyed the King and Queen of the Ring because it kind of represents who's next in line to be the next superstar, you know, who's coming up to join that main event scene, so to speak. So it's a good one to keep your eye on. Yeah,
there was a moment not too long ago where you were in that position, and now, of course, you are the world champion. I'm curious, you know, you just won the world title at WrestleMania a few weeks ago. You're standing behind the curtain, senior Money in the Bank still with the briefcase. You're about to run out and cash in. And I imagine, I mean, if it was me, my anxiety would be at an all-time high. What was going through your head in that particular moment?
Yeah, leading up to, like, while I was sitting behind that curtain and waiting and watching the match and, you know, figuring it out, I was there. I started getting the nerves. But, man, once CM Punk laid out Drew on that table and started wailing on him, and I knew it was time, then I got amped up, and it was almost like, you know, that Damian Priest is locked in, you know, and that my music hit, I was like, let's go. I booked it to the ring. You know, I was amped up. So, right, I would say up until my music hit, yeah, maybe the nerves. But as soon as my music hit, I was just like, let's go. You know, like, it's happening now.
Yeah, and also when your music hits, the crowd erupted. It was one of the loudest eruptions of the night. It's still early in the night. The crowd is still fresh, and they know what's about to happen. Everyone loves a Money in the Bank cash, and so I imagine as you're running down, that feeling of the crowd's noise probably just amped you up even more.
Yeah, so in my head, right before I ran out there, I was like, look, have good, smooth strides. Don't trip. Don't embarrass yourself. And then that roar of the crowd, it made me forget everything, and I booked it. I mean, I couldn't believe how fast I ran down that ramp. And then afterwards, I was like, that was reckless. but the crowd of that roar, I mean, I can't thank that Philly crowd enough because they made that moment extra special. But yeah, I was very, very in tune with the noise, and I felt it.
Yeah, it was a quick match, obviously, and then you won the match. The bell rings, and here comes the ref handing you the belt. Something I imagine you've been working towards your entire career, and here is the moment you've been waiting for, and here it is. What's happening in your head in that moment as you raise the title and you're like, adrenaline is an all-time high.
That I laid out in that moment that I just roared. That was real. That was real emotion that I needed because I was literally full of emotion. So I needed to just let it out. So I felt like I was going to explode. That was everything I had. You know, it's one of those things that's everything you work towards, you know, that's the goal and that's the dream. And, you know, to achieve it, it was just, I mean, every single emotion you could think of positively, it hit me at once. And I was, like I said, I was really living that moment. I didn't like wait to look back at it later and then be like, oh, wow. No, I was very in tune with what was happening. And like I said, the crowd made it extra special. And then Judgment Day coming out on the stage and all of us embracing and holding the title up on the stage. It was surreal.
Yeah, it was really cool to see the backstage footage of Judgment Day watching you. And it was like they were watching their big brother get his moment. Like they were as excited as you were, which I thought was really cool that you had people to celebrate with, that you know, the last year or so that you've been working with them and making Judgment Day as strong as it is. It must have been a great moment.
Yeah, we always do that for each other, especially in those big moments. But, you know, you never, when you're in it, you're not thinking about that they're doing that for you. So when I see them on stage, the big smile on my face, and then watching the footage back myself and seeing them, they were jumping up and down and then just watching and like, come on, do it. It was cool, man. It's one of those things that's like, you know, I care about them so much, but you know, you never know how people care about you. And then to see that, it's like, oh, you guys actually, like, we're all the same here, you know, and I appreciate it because I know it's his legitimate support and that group of individuals, we really we created something special with the Judgment Day. You know, pushing each other and trying to elevate each other. And this was like, you guys did it. You know, as much as I did it, they did it for me as well. They helped me achieve this by, you know, just getting my confidence up and pushing me to be better.
That's awesome. And one other thing I noticed in the backstage thing that really touched me was you embracing with Paul Levesque, Triple H, and you saying that, you know, you thanked him for believing in you, which I felt was such a genuine, authentic moment. And I remember even, you know, last time I interviewed you were NXT North American champion, and you know, Triple H was championing you just as well in NXT, and here we are a few years later, and you achieved this big goal, and obviously he had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, Hunter, he man, since my NXT days, he's another one that really truly believed in me when, you know, a lot of people had cast me aside, and he really thought I could do a lot of good things in the business. And you know, now that we're in the Paul Levesque era, and you know, him taking full control and, you know, continue that mindset of believing in me, but also like guiding me. You know, like to this day, he'll pull me aside and, you know, tell me like, hey, think about this, think about that. Like, he's a constant mentor as well as being my boss. I can't thank him enough for the opportunities he's granted me, and again, the trust and him believing in me. Like, it started in Puerto Rico with Bad Bunny. I mean, that, you know, that's something big that they had to really trust someone to go in there and work with Bad Bunny, right? I mean, you can't just put him in with anybody. So the fact that they were like, okay, it'll be one-on-one, you know, that's a big ask, you know, and it's one of those things that I had to prove Hunter and his team right, you know, for trusting me. And so that was my main goal. And I wasn't nervous about it. Like, I was fully confident. Like, I was proud to, like, I knew I was going to make them proud. I knew I was going to make them say, I knew that was the right decision. So I was excited about that opportunity. But you never stop, you know, being like feeling humbled and honored to be in the position of trust. So, you know, and the words he said to me after WrestleMania, which stayed between me and him, but like meant a lot. And like I said, I can't stop saying nice enough things about Hunter and his leadership.
Yeah, that Backlash match that you had with Bad Bunny, I think that was my favorite match of last year and my favorite event of the year. I got so caught up in the emotion of the Puerto Rican crowd. It was unlike anything I had ever seen up until that point in terms of a wrestling fan reaction. Like, I was almost just like, I always thought New York had the hottest crowds, and I was just like, man, New York really needs to step it up with these Puerto Rican crowds, and especially Bad Bunny's entrance. It was so epic, and besides how WWE captured it with the drone shot and everything, just the power that he held over the crowd there, singing every word to his song. And you're standing in the middle of the ring as all this energy is happening. Do you almost find yourself like slipping out of character and being like, wow, this is awesome? You know, like
yeah, that's exactly what happened. I had to be like, hey, cut it out. Stay in it. Because I had never, up until that point, like, I've been in the crowd where you could feel like the floor shaking a little bit and whatnot, but being in the ring, you don't really feel the tremble. You know, you don't really feel that. But I felt it that night. That was wild in his entrance. And I got goosebumps while I was in the ring waiting for him. But I had to keep a straight face, you know, angry and whatever. But that was one of the wildest things I had ever seen.
And I mean, that was a great match. You know, you forget that Bad Bunny's only had, you know, 2 or 3 matches up until that point. And it was like a Royal Rumble and a tag match. This was his first singles match. And really, you know, I'm sure you had to carry the brunt of the weight of that match, and it was a lot of pressure, and also at the same time in your hometown area, country, and so that must have been a very big moment for you, and I'm guessing a turning point in when management started to see like, okay, we can give Damian Priest the ball here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so it also meant a lot more than just a one match. It was the whole event, and then the hype behind it, and us having that crowd be so special. I think it kind of set the table of, I'm not saying that we wouldn't be doing as many international tours now and the PLEs, but I think it made them feel safe and secure and like, okay, this is definitely going to work. I mean, look at what we just did in Puerto Rico. Anything outside of the immediate United States, it's always been, how often should we do PLEs? How is it going to work? And I think Puerto Rico showed the company like, oh, we could go outside of the immediate U.S. and crowds will be receptive. We can it could be, lucrative. It was all positives, so now it's kind of cool that we have so many PLEs all over the world, and everybody's representing their culture. So I think to me that event culturally meant more than just any one win or loss and any one match. It was more about representation. And now we get to do things like go to Clash in Germany and Scotland, and with the backlash that we just had in France was insane as well. So it's kind of cool that this is where we're at now, that it's just let everybody represent their stuff, and we can have superstars that can, be the focus point of that event. It's even better because, people should enjoy their moment and get their flowers from their home country and their hometown and their people. I love it. I think it's really cool, and I'm glad we got to be able to showcase that in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you mentioned France, and your first official title defense was in Lyon, France, against Jey Uso, and the crowd themselves were, in their own way, in their French way, pretty raucous. They were hanging from the rafters, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. And I wanted to ask you, experiencing both the Lyon crowd and the Puerto Rico crowd, which was the crazier crowd? Which do you say topped the other? I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, and it hurts me to say it, but I gotta pick France.
Oh wow! Okay.
That was something special, but that's not to dog out, the island. The island did its thing, and they set the table for France to do that. Now, when we go back to PR, I fully expect Puerto Rico to top that. I think it's going to be a one-upmanship type of thing. I don't think without Puerto Rico, I don't know if that crowd would have done the exact same thing. I'm still sure they would have been on fire, but I don't know if it would have been the way that they outshined every other event. So the ball's in your court, Puerto Rico. I'm expecting us to take the number one spot again.
I love that. And also it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see now how Germany reacts, how Scotland reacts. They see what these international crowds are doing. Maybe they feel like they need to step their games up too.
Exactly. I think that's what it is now. I think people especially when it's outside the immediate United States. Puerto Rico's part of the United States, but it's not, inside it. So I think outside of the United States, I feel like it's going to be like a competition, which it works for us. That makes our jobs way easier, because we feed off the crowd. So if you're like that, we're going to put on the best performance for you possible, and it'll be easier for us. Because like I said, we could do things based off of you, that's the crowd is the other person in the ring with us. So for sure, for us, like the idea that other countries and places that we visit and cultures are going to compete against each other as far as who's the best crowd. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very fascinated by the travel schedule pro wrestlers do. In a way, it's similar to musicians, but in a way, it's not similar because musicians are on the road for a few months and then they have breaks. You guys are on the road every week, at least 3 or 4 days a week. And I'm curious, take me through a typical day, like a typical Monday. You wake up, Raw is at 9 or 8 p.m. Eastern. What do you do? Like, what happens from the moment you wake up to the moment the show starts? Take me through that day.
It starts the day before, because that's whether I'm usually at a live event, so I have to drive or fly into Raw. And then try to get a gym session in and be at the venue usually between 1 and 2 p.m. And it's over at 11. And then try to find something to eat, wake up, catch a flight. And depending on the week, it could be, let's say Mania week for me. It was that Monday. Then after Monday, I flew to New York. Well, I drove to New York to do media at Yankee Stadium. Then I drove the next day. I was in Connecticut to do media there. Then Thursday, I flew home, got to have a day home, pack, do laundry, and then fly out to Vegas that Friday for an appearance. And then from that, go Saturday to wherever the live event was. Live events are non-televised events. And then Sunday, go somewhere else. And then Monday, do it and start it all over again. Now, on a week that, let's say I don't have as many appearances, I might get to fly home on a Tuesday and be home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's it. And then right back on the road Friday.
I see. And so now, just to take what you said, you're at Raw from 2 to 11. What are you doing from like 2 to 8 o'clock? How are they keeping you busy?
Usually we get there, we have a barber, there's obviously the hair and makeup team. If you're going to eat something, you want to start stretching. And then you get together with your producers and whatnot. They kind of lay out what's going to happen. And then you start, going over what you're going to do. That there's usually stuff we got to film, stuff we got to photo shoots, interviews. there's a lot going on. There's so many. Luckily, usually the arenas are huge, so there's tons of rooms. And then so we usually have they put up signs everywhere to tell us where to go. And it's like, okay, where's this room? Where's that room? Where's this media place? Where's that? Oh, well, how many? I got to sign 5,000 things today. I got to do this, do that. So it's not like we're just standing around for all those hours doing nothing. We're literally moving. Sometimes I'll see people I share the locker room with. I'll see them. We all get there around the same time. And I won't see them till like 9 p.m. And we're like, you were here the whole day? They're like, yeah. We were just on the opposite sides of the building, just busy. And it's wild. Even with the Judgment Day, I mean, luckily, most of the stuff we do is together. But sometimes I don't see some of the guys, I don't see Rhea till we arrive together to the arena, and then we won't see each other till like almost the end of the show. And I was like, where you been? Did you leave and come back? But they keep us pretty busy.
And you said you have to try to find something to eat at the end of the day. Obviously, this is a very cosmetic business. You're trying to watch what you eat. I'm sure it's easier to do in a major city like New York at 11 o'clock than it would be in say a Chattanooga, Tennessee. Do you kind of have a go-to system of diners and things like that 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 are safe?
Like anything grill, whether it's a bar and grill or whatever. So that's how we search stuff. And then by now we all have our places that we've visited. So like I have a horrible memory. So I just look at my phone and then I'll look to places and it'll say last visited. I'm like, okay, this is the spot that I go to. And then I'll go, and sure enough, the bartender's like, hey, welcome back, or a server, and then it's usually said that at least at a grill, you can get somewhat healthier food, grilled chicken, get a steak and whatnot. So that's usually what we fall back on.
Yeah. My life was changed last year when a friend of mine told me that in Google Maps, you could actually save a location into like a playlist. And so I just have all these eateries, and it's just like, oh, we're going to be in this area. I know I've already found somewhere previously that I wanted to go. Easy to do.
It makes it a lot easier.
And so when you have these long flights, are you watching certain shows? How do you pass the time when you can't do anything else?
Yeah, I'm not a good sleeper on flights or rides. So I usually tend to, if the plane has its own stuff, I might look through it and see if I haven't seen a movie or whatnot. Or just binge watch shows. I'll find a new show every other so often to watch, or something that people have been telling me for years to watch, and I never just had the time. Now, usually I take the time on planes. Like I just got done finally catching up on Peaky Blinders. So then I just finished that. Now I'm on to try to find another show I try to find ones that I haven't seen that have a lot of seasons. So, now it's just a matter of looking through stuff and see what I haven't seen. I've seen so many by this point, but again, or just try to find movies. And what's good is that most, like the social networks, the streaming services, they have so much new content consistently that you can find something that you haven't seen, a movie or stuff. So and at least they make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about music now. I'm curious. Let's say you have a big main event coming up and you want a special entrance beyond the typical Judgment Day entrance. And they tell you can have any famous metal song be your entrance theme for this special entrance. What are you picking?
Oof, damn, that was, now you said any song. I thought you were going to say any band. Any song.
I mean, it could be any band if that's an easier.
Yeah, no, but it would, like, my dream band to play me to the ring would be Metallica. I mean, that would be like the icing on the cake, the most famous metal band of all time. Play me to the ring if they played like, I don't know, Full the Bell Tolls or Puppets or something like the Ride the Lightning. I don't know. So I have to be something like powerful, old school. I think that would be amazing.
I think that would be great too. I think we need a Metallica WrestleMania crossover, specifically for you.
My boss kind of knows them a little bit. Hopefully, he listens to this. I'm like, oh.
I think there was For Whom the Bell Tolls a few years ago, WrestleMania played. I think maybe the Undertaker in for his match with Triple H.
No, it was Hunter. It was like it was his pre-theme to his theme.
That was it. Okay, yeah. I remember it was something like that. Yeah.
So maybe not that one because it's kind of been played.
Yeah. Right. And so like if there's an opening slot in Judgment Day, what metal musician do you think would fit right in and you would welcome with open arms into Judgment Day that would have your back?
Ozzy Osbourne.
No one would mess with him.
His old school Ozzy, there's no topping that wild, man. And being that our group is diverse anyway, it fits right in, So Ozzy as a character, I mean, who would top that character, right?
I agree. He's made for pro wrestling. And I want to say, if you got the chance to organize your own music festival and you could have 5 to 7 bands on there, build the Damian Priest Fest, what does that look like? Unlimited budget.
Yeah, 5 bands.
Yeah.
And this, like, and you could ask me this tomorrow and it'll change. So today I'm saying this list. I'll go with Metallica. I always have them on my list. I'd go with Killswitch, Soilwork, In Flames, and Shadows Fall.
I love it. It's like a 2005 festival.
A little bit of 90s.
Yeah. Cool. And one last question. Say you have a friend who is just come to you like, Damien, I'm hearing so much about pro wrestling. I want to get into pro wrestling. Where do I start? What do I watch? What's the first match you show somebody to just get into pro wrestling?
Me versus Bad Bunny.
I think, you know what? I think that is a great answer, because that would show you the power of the crowd and how it's not just about, holds and moves. It's about the emotion.
Exactly. And that's why I would start with a match like that, because there was so much emotion in that match. But yeah, I would start with matches like that. Anything that overly showed emotion, where you got invested, not just for the moves, just because you actually cared about good versus bad, underdog, like all of it. And a match like that showcases that. You could do 1, 2, 3 Kid versus Razor Ramon. You could do stuff like that too, where it's basically like against the odds. You could get emotionally invested in something so simple. So for me, it would be like matches like that.
Awesome, man. Well, Damien, thank you so much for your time. I just want to say I'm such a big fan. I love how you keep the memory of Razor Ramon alive with the Razor's Edge, and also at the same time, like, you have moves called like South of Heaven, which is like, it's so cool to hear the announcers shout that out. So very, very happy for your success. Congratulations. And I can't wait to watch you every Monday night on Raw, on the USA Network, and on the WWE Premium Live event, King and Queen of the Ring, on May 24th on Peacock. Thank you, Damien.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.